going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media. It's finally the week of the Baltimore Ravens' second season, the postseason. We know the matchup. It's the Houston Texans, week one. So the first game of the regular season, the first game of the second season, both against the Houston Texans and standout rookie quarterback CJ Stroud. I apologize to everyone. Didn't get videos out over the weekend. Lost power for like 3 days, so that was fun. And now I'm watching my sister while my mom's on vacation. So I went over to her house, and she has internet and she has power. So we're able to do this. But Joshua, what are your thoughts on playing the Texans in this opening round?
Oh man, listen. Well, I text you. McConnell can tell you, man. I texted him, during the Texans game. I said, "Hey, man, listen. I know we didn't get a chance to record, but the Texans been low key one of my scariest teams in the AFC. It's not the Browns. It's been the Texans. They are like the Detroit Lions of the AFC. They got a young coach. They got they ride in the back of a young QB. Also, they got a young defensive core as well. And these guys have, they had a rough start in the beginning, but they found their mojo and they've been rolling ever since. So, I definitely I love the fact that we're going to be competing. It's not going to be no cakewalk. It's not going to be no easy game. I don't feel like, our team's going to take this, this opportunity for granted. And I don't think the Texans are going to take this opportunity for granted too. I know CJ Stroud feeling some type of way because, yes, his NFL career started off against him being harassed by, selfish, savvy defense and the Ravens defense. And now he has grown up. He has matured, but he's still a rookie. And they want this. They want this. I feel like there's a lot of mutual respect given from both teams. So I feel good about it, man. I feel good about it. I'm ready to see our guys go after it. I do feel like no team can beat us but ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when I made a video saying like the teams that I most want to play in the divisional round, the Texans were that team, but it wasn't because I thought they were the worst team. I thought it was because we haven't seen them. All the other options we had seen very recently. The Steelers, obviously, the week prior, even though we didn't have our starters. I don't care what anybody says. I never want to play the Steelers in the playoffs. Divisional game against your rival. Anything can happen. Same thing with the Browns. Same thing with the Bengals. I don't want to play them in the playoffs. Like, those were my bottom two. I'm like, I just don't want to play them. Good, hard, physical football. Don't want to risk injuries. And they know the Ravens. They know the Ravens better than anybody. And then it was like the Dolphins. We played them like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
At least the Texans, even though we have played them, we played them week one. It was CJ Stroud's first game. It was their coach's first game as well. And shout out to D'Amico Ryan because he's a great coach. He's a great coach. And it's exciting to watch. And so I felt like because of the injuries that they had, and I felt like our offense could match up well against them and our defense well against their offense. I didn't feel like they had something where it was like they were going to just be able to like cinch the Ravens. Like I feel like the Titans were able to do running the football with Derrick Henry. Now, with that said, CJ Stroud is an absolute beast, and I'm very happy for him because I did really like him in the draft. I loved him at Ohio State. I was rooting for him. I was glad he didn't go to the Panthers. But at the same time, I think it's pretty funny how like all of a sudden a lot of people are talking about like the beef between like Ravens fans and Texans fans. I'm like, there's no beef. I don't know of any Ravens fans that was going out there being like, CJ Stroud is overrated. I don't think he's any. It was like, dude, we've all been watching him. Like, go Texans! Like we were rooting for you. Yeah. I've always enjoyed playing against the Texans. I don't think it's necessarily a heated rivalry, but I think it's traditionally come down to pretty good games. Maybe not as much recently due to like the Deshaun Watson thing, but in the past, back when they had JJ Watt and stuff, we did match up against them in the playoffs. They even had D'Amico Ryans on that team, and like it was just a fun game, and it's a physical football team. Both teams are still, they have a lot of young pieces playing on both sides of the ball. A lot of playoff debuts on the Ravens side. So, or at least playoff debuts with a shot, because I'm sorry, Snoop, we had no shot. But I think Lamar Jackson this shows his leadership. The way
Yeah.
that the Baltimore Ravens come out in this game, and Void mentioned it, the way they come out has nothing to do with Harbaugh, has nothing to do with Roquan Smith's pregame speech, which I know gets every single person fired up. This comes down to Lamar Jackson, right? He has been sitting there and he has just been waiting. Because the last time he played a playoff game, he got a concussion. That was the Buffalo Bills a few seasons ago. Lamar gets concussed. Tyler Huntley finishes the game. The Ravens lose. Lamar did throw a pick six in that game, which was kind of the big turning point. But, Lamar Jackson is hungry, and he wants to prove people wrong. And this is the type of roster and potential schedule that could allow him to take that next step and potentially get himself to the Super Bowl. But that, I think a lot of people misconstrue how easy getting to the Super Bowl is. You have to beat good teams to make the Super Bowl, unless you're the Cincinnati Bengals or San Francisco 49ers, because the Bengals, when they made the Super Bowl, they did beat the Chiefs, but other than that, they didn't play anybody good. And then the 49ers this year, they get to play the Packers and the Lions, and that they should blow both those teams out.
Yeah, man. I mean, Odell said it best. We in the playoffs is about the best of the best, in the business. And right now, everybody that has made the playoff push is technically the best of the best of this season. And whoever that's been winning in these past wild card rounds, the one who got bested, is has shown who's going to continue going, who's going to continue their journey. I definitely feel like I don't know if you feel like this, McConnell. As I was watching the games, the wild card games, I tried not to be, what's the word? I try to be humble as I was watching the games. As much I want the Steelers to lose, as much, seeing the Dallas Cowboys demise to Jordan Love and company, it was funny. It was funny as hell to me, man. Eagles. I was rooting for the Eagles in secret, in spirit, Baltimore, Philly, that's our distant cousins. We show love to Philly every now and then. But the way, Baker Mayfield came alive and put boot the behind on the Eagles, I mean, damn, it was they was already coming apart from an AJ Brown injury, and then Dallas Goedert going at Jalen Hurts' neck, and then shout out to Kelsey, to the oldest Kelsey brother. He's had a hell of a career. I've been felt like this was going to be his last ride anyway. So shout out to him. But it's just this team, and I'll be honest, yeah, I got PTSD. 2019, yeah, I said, but my level of PTSD is low because I do know that this team that we working with now and this year is different from that 2019 team. This team is more mature. This team is more poised. You have enough group of young with the veterans as well for them to come in and understand, like, hey, the job ain't done. Let's get to work. Let's get ready. And even when we do win on Saturday, we ain't doing no celebrating because the job still ain't done. This is just one part of the job. So I love the fact that how locked in Lamar is. I saw them ask them today. Do you feel like you do this offense? In this offense, do you feel like you can put up 20 points or more? How confident do you feel about that? And he responded with, I feel real confident. I feel very confident. I'm more than confident. Please, y'all, don't get that confused with cockiness. We have only been seeing sprinkles of this Todd Monken offense. And I feel like the floodgates is about to open come this playoff ride. And we're about to be in for a treat. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. So I definitely feel like, we can run a table on any team that we face. Lamar showed he can make the intermediate passes, the medium passes, and throw the deep ball. We do have a run game. I'm looking forward to see what Dalvin Cook can do and add to this offense. Because I can't rely on Melvin Gordon. Justice Hill, this is going to be big for him, and see how he contributes to this offense. I feel like, with Keaton Mitchell out, this is a time for him to show that, hey, I can get the job done as well. I can be that speed back or that scat back for us as well, which I feel like he can. He has shown that, he has shown and developed that he could be a north and south runner. He could be a downhill runner. So I'm loving the energy that this team is bringing. And what is I feel like was really different from that 2000 team, that 2012 team, and this team is that the offense can carry on the load of scoring points versus and give this defense more rest. Granted, it's a beautiful thing to have a defense that matches the offense, but I feel like this offense can really take over anytime they want to.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier. We're gonna get to see what Todd Monken does in this situation. I want to remind people, Todd Monken called brilliant college football championship and college football playoff games. Like when it came down to it, Todd Monken, we talk about the vault with Greg Roman. Monken opened the vault when it came to that game against Ohio State. I think that was the best game Georgia ended up playing throughout the entire year. If you guys want to go see, hey, what could Todd Monken have in store? Go watch that game. Don't watch any of the Ravens games. Watch that game and see some of the things that he pulls out. It's not necessarily trick plays, but they are unique schemes and designs where you go, oh, I really like that. That's what he did in the college football world. And, yes, we played against the Texans earlier in the year. We couldn't really pass the ball very well. Remember, that was Lamar Jackson's first game in that passing game. And I think the Ravens early in the year, their goal was to rely on the run game. And that's exactly what they did in that game. Now, towards the end of the season, it's been the passing game has been leading into a proficient run game, but it's been kind of pass first. And that's allowed for Lamar Jackson to get a lot of passing yards numbers, and we still run it in the red zone. We still get the red zone rushing touchdowns, but I think that's really helped with the way that they've been able to play. And Void said, wasn't Monken with Cleveland when they dropped 40 on Pittsburgh in the playoffs? That he might have been the offensive coordinator in that game. However, I do remember that game, and it was like Big Ben interception to the 5, pick 6. There's a lot of defensive points scored in that game, but I think he was there at that point because that was like 3 years ago. Shout out to Baker. Josh, I know you said you're rooting for the Eagles. I'm a Baker guy at heart.
Yeah.
I was all in on the Texans. I love Baker. So
hey.
Go Baker, beat the Lions, rooting for him. I want to see that Tampa Bay team in the playoffs if I can see any team. But
listen, I got a coworker that's a Detroit Lions fan. I got a buddy that I play 2K with that's a Detroit Lions fan. So I say, you know what, y'all, I'm a mutual party. Whatever happens, happens. But the best of luck to y'all. I got to worry about my business on Saturday, though. I'll get back to y'all, though.
Like, I think a lot of people look at this game and it's like the Ravens should handily win. And I would agree with that, but I'm not expecting that to happen. Right? This is the postseason. CJ Stroud, his best game of his career, I believe, was in the college football playoff against Georgia, actually. And that, I think, solidified himself, in my opinion, as the best player in the draft was that game because he had a lot of questions coming into that. But he steps up when the lights are brightest. They are missing some of their wide receivers, and Noah Brown, Tank Dell, but they do have Nico Collins, the Michigan man, the Harbaugh man. Hopefully Mike McDonald has a good idea, but I think it was Void that brought it up. But they are a team that loves the big play. They are going to take shots. They are going to try and, get guys after the catch. People that watch that Browns game, we all know the Browns have a good defense, but the Browns and Texans were going back and forth with big play after big play, which I think helps the Ravens because the Ravens have been really good this year in limiting the big play. And they've been pretty good at getting guys in open space to where Zay Flowers and Odell, we got to mention it, big play bait. I'm leaning into it.
No, for sure. Hey, that's the dark horse. I play that's the dark horse of this team.
Like, I think we gotta try and get those big plays and limit theirs because we want them to be in 3rd and 7s. We don't want them to be in those 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3s where they're able to take those, those hard play action deep shots to Nico. And I think the benefit that we have is we do have, 3 safeties that can hawk down the football and play the ball in the air, as well as DBs that are able to play very well in coverage against bigger, more physical wide receivers that do have some athleticism. We have Brandon Stevens and hopefully Marlon Humphrey for this game, seeing how they match up. But like outside of that, it's really stopping Dalton Schultz and Devin Singletary. And I think that comes down to just getting pressure quickly for CJ Stroud to not be comfortable. And that's what the Ravens defense has lived off of this year, is getting that pressure, forcing those quick throws, those early decisions, and those mistakes. Like that's how Geno Stone has done so well this year. Like it hasn't been Geno Stone like baiting guys every time. It's been they had to get rid of it quickly. And they
Yeah.
thought they had that seam and then were able to get it, but make them start throwing, make them get out of rhythm, and let the Ravens offense do what they've done all year and stay focused.
And you know what the crazy thing about it? We haven't talked about it yet. I think Void he was spot on with one earlier. Morgan Moses versus Will Anderson part 2. Listen, Will Anderson has been coming alive since day one. Morgan Moses, we see a flash here, we see a flash there. Sometimes, he already moonwalking in the backfield and giving us a false start. I feel like this is going to be throughout this playoff push. It's going to be it's going to be huge to see what our offensive line does, how they protect Lamar Jackson, how they get forward progression against some of these, agile young defensive edge rushes and defensive tackles. That linebacker core at the Texans, them boys get after it. Them boys get after it for sure. And I know D'Amico Ryans, he gonna play in something. He gonna play in something. He gonna have a QB spy. He gonna try to run containment. Just like how Mike, the head coach at Miami, through their hard knocks, try to say, hey, if he goes off, talking about Lamar, it's gonna be a video game. Yeah, y'all already seen what he can do. If y'all don't contain him, it's gonna get worse. So I definitely feel like we got to see how that trench work plays out, because I feel like the championships are won in the trenches. So I feel like it definitely comes down both sides of the ball too, of how our defensive line comes after it. I would love to see Tyus Bowser out there. I feel like he can be a possible missing link, but hey man, things happen. I would love to see a David Ojabo make a great comeback, but once again, things happen. Hopefully we get those guys back in the next season. But I do feel like Jason Adafio way, if he comes back and shows up big for us, I feel like that'd be great. I'm expecting a big game out of Travis Jones, Justin Metabike. I don't know if the contract been solidified, but I know you probably saw the 25 mil beak. I don't know what that's all about, but hopefully he got cut his deal early, in order to help some of the other guys out and figure out what that money gonna look like in the off season. Because we got a lot of people that's gonna be up for free agency. So no, this is definitely a strong matchup. This is a heavyweight fight. This is like, in my opinion, it's like Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. I feel like they're nicely well matched up. You got two young guns. You got two young veteran savvy defenses. You got a head coach. You got a first year head coach in the Texans. You got a head coach for us that's been getting saved by the skin of his teeth on the back of his quarterback and company. But he's me. We got to give some credit when it's due. He has made some good decisions here and there, but he still has a moment where he just looks like a deer with headlights on, like Joe Flacco did this previous weekend when he kept on throwing interceptions. So I definitely feel like we can get after it just like they can, but it really comes down to time. What we do best: time of possession. How we keep their offense off the field, how we continue to take points. I'm all for aggressiveness on the offensive side of the ball, long it is within range, long as it is within means. So say it was like 4th and 1, and we're like at their 20. I don't mind going for it. They have to work all the way back from their 20 to get to our end zone. You know what I'm saying? So, it's all about how we, strategically go about this game as well.
And I think I look at somebody that was a former number 1 overall pick by the Houston Texans as somebody that I'm watching in this game, and that's Jadeveon Clowney. He's somebody that in the big games, he has absolutely shown up, and if he can have a game like he's had a couple of times this season where he is just in the backfield, the Ravens are going to be fine. They need one of their pass rushers to have it, because we can't let CJ Stroud just sit back, and we don't want to be blitzing all the time, because when you're blitzing against a team that loves the big play, if they time it up right and they run that double move and we run cover 0, we could be in a lot of trouble. So if we can get that 4-man pass rush led by Clowney and Beaks, like that's going to help a ton, because we're just going to be able to watch them try and get 3-4 yards, which is fine, because that's when you make mistakes. Like, you don't make mistakes when you have 4-play drives. But a 9, 10, 11 play drive, there could be a mistake in there. And that mistake could be an interception, a tipped ball. Maybe it's 3rd and 5 and a guy drops a pass. It just gives more opportunities for the defense to get that stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wink Martindale, I think everybody knows I hated Wink. I did not like Wink on our defense because Wink Martindale was the king of, it's a 3-play drive.
Yeah.
And that could mean a stop, or it's a 75-yard touchdown where he ran cover 0 on 3rd and 1 and they ran a slant route and took it to the house. You're like, okay, what do I prefer? I've always said this. Go back to Dean Pease. Dean Pease, the way he called defenses for the Baltimore Ravens was they are going to slowly have to work their way across the field, and we're not going to get a lot of turnovers, but it's going to be that we finally get to that 3rd and 3 and we get that stop. It's like, they might have had a 9-play drive, but we got the stop. And that's what matters more to me, is being able to get those consistent stops, because the more plays that our defense is out there, because we haven't been beat by a deep ball, is the more opportunities for a sack, a fumble, an interception, or a miscue by the offense that leads to a turnover on downs or just a punt, rather than just, running cover 0 all the time. And, oh, look at that, they took one to the house, because we used to get beat a ton by the big play when we had Wink. Mike McDonald done a great job at limiting the big play, especially after that Dolphins game last year. But I mean, like, you watch the Ravens against the Dolphins. I think that was the most explosive team in the NFL. They really should have beaten Buffalo if they wanted a chance in the playoffs, because they had to go play in negative temperatures, and that's not going to work when you're an explosive offense and you're trying to throw the ball deep and -7 with wind, and you're from Hawaii. That's not going to work very well, but we were able to analyze that first drive. We started playing a little bit back, and all of a sudden they lost that intermediate crossing route. The Texans love those intermediate 20-yard balls to Nico Collins on the sideline or Dalton Schultz on a corner. They scored one on about a 15-yard crosser. I think it might have been a corner from Brevin Jordan, one of our guys that we really liked in the draft, 6'3", out of University of Miami at tight end. But we just went out there, and it was just like, he just catches it and he turns upfield and he makes one guy miss. The Ravens got to be disciplined. Maybe listen to the Ray Lewis Manning cast. Angles, practice, cohesiveness. Everyone play on the same string. And DB Wink calls the same things no matter what he has. That has nothing to do with players.
There's a reason.
Cover 0.
We done had some good players, and there's a reason why they wanted to get the hell out of Baltimore, defensive wise, under Wink Martindale's, defensive coaching. But I want to pivot. I want to ask you a question, McConnell. Um, this happens every playoffs, every season. We put up a season good enough where our guys are getting requested for head coaching positions. There's a one guy in particular that is getting called up. Mike McDonald. Now Tom Monk is getting called up. Anthony Weaver, I believe I'm saying his last name correct. Is getting some calls too. Out of those three, McConnell, who would you want to keep the most?
Definitely Mike McDonald. I hope Todd Monken gets taken because I think Todd Monken was a perfect building step. I don't think Todd Monken's a great offensive coordinator. What he is a hell of a lot better than Greg Roman was. And he was able to bring an initial passing game to the Baltimore Ravens offense. And once you have that, if he gets a head coaching job, now the Ravens can say, passing works with Lamar. Now what do you want? And they can go out and they can get their pick of the litter. Because, I mean, who wouldn't want to have Lamar Jackson with Zay Flowers under contract? Remember, like that, Lamar wasn't under contract when we were trying to get an offensive coordinator. People are like, are you going to sign? There's like, we don't really know. Now, we are able to say we have Lamar Jackson, we have Zay Flowers, we have Keaton Mitchell, Isaiah Likely. Like, we got weapons for you. What do you got? And people are really going to want that job. And so I'm totally fine with the Ravens, sitting back and getting another offensive coordinator because Tom Monken, like I said, like I'm happy we signed him. Like I'm not upset at his performance, but I don't think he is some great all-knowing offensive coordinator. Like a Shanahan system kind of guy. I think it's just like, hey, we got a massive improvement. It's a great building stone for Lamar Jackson's career, which we've been looking for.
Well, one thing we can say about Tom Monken, I think we can probably in agreement about this. He definitely takes the lemons and makes lemonade. We've seen what he did with Georgia with 3 tight ends and made that work, and made a push and run to the national championship for sure. I definitely feel like I'll have to agree with you, man. I definitely would have had to keep Mike McDonald as well, just for the simple fact that out of Dean Pease, out of Wink Martindale, I don't think we're going to get another DC like this. I don't think we're going to get another DC that's going to get guys to play for him like this. I don't know if you want to, bump up Zachary Orr, in-house type of guy, but I'm willing to take more of a chance on T. Martin at OC to give him an intro shot. He does have offensive coordinator, history in the college realm. He was a Heisman. No, I don't. Either he was a Heisman finalist
He was a national champion.
There we go. I know that. I do remember that. And I mean, him and Lamar got a great rapport.
Yeah.
So he knows a thing or two. And I definitely feel like, he's not. I don't feel like he will limit, Lamar from his talent, especially as a thrower, because I don't know all T Martin's history. I don't know what all he faced as a QB at a Power 5 school as a volunteer, but I'm pretty sure that some of the stuff that Lamar has faced in his career, he's probably faced the same. So I definitely feel like possibly that can be a move. So yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see how things maneuver and how things move around for these guys during the off season. I guess since we're still in the off season, Jefferson Rebick, he quoted somebody saying that this team, the way this team is built, is now or never. Do you feel like if we do not win a Super Bowl this year, we won't win a Super Bowl down the road while we have Lamar Jackson under contract?
Not with Harbaugh. I think this is our chance with Harbaugh. If we don't win this year, I think we have to get rid of him because we're going to lose a lot of our great pieces this offseason. Like, no matter what, like, we're going to lose key pieces of this defense. We can't keep everyone. And Harbaugh, like, here's the thing. When you have a guy like Harbaugh, you will never be able to keep a great OC or DC, which means you're not going to be able to keep your scheme for offense or defense if it's that good. You want to know why the great coaches are so great? Because Bill Belichick has ran that goddamn defense in New England for 20 years. And yeah, he keeps losing DCs, but Belichick calls it. Andy Reid has called that offense for 20 years, and he was going to Super Bowls for the Eagles. He's going to Super Bowls for the Kansas City Chiefs. And yeah, he loses his offensive coordinators. But you know what? He's calling the offense. He keeps it. Kyle Shanahan is going to be able to contend, and he's going to keep losing offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. We're playing against one this week, but he's lost his defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator like each of the last 3 seasons. But why are they still contending? Because he's calling the offense. He has the integral part of what they're doing. The head coach is supplying, meaning he's not going to leave. We don't have that. Yes, Harbaugh is a leader of men, and I can't discredit that. But look at what happened to Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni brought in 2 great coordinators. They get to the Super Bowl. Both of them leave. Gannon and Shane Steichen. Not Shane Steichen. That's the Texas coach. Whatever the Colts coach's name is. I can't remember what it is right now. But they both leave. And then the Eagles fall apart because they couldn't figure out their offensive and defensive coordinators. That is a problem John Harbaugh has had his entire career, is getting those coordinators. And the reason why we have to keep getting new ones is because if they're good, they leave. And if they're bad, we can't do it. Like, we don't get rid of them. So it's like, that's the issue with Harbaugh. And so this year, we have our great defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
A top 5 defensive coordinator in the league.
Yeah.
We have great assets that are about to go in, that are in contract years, and veterans that are making a lot of money, like Clowney, Kyle Van Noy. They're not signing back for the minimums after the seasons that they just had. Both had career best seasons. If we don't win the Super Bowl this year, it's most likely that Mike McDonald is leaving. We're probably not keeping PQ or Matabike. We're probably losing Geno Stone. And then it comes down to the draft. And yeah, we can draft well, but then it becomes, okay, Harbaugh, find us another Mike McDonald. How hard is that? Oh, that's borderline impossible. And because he's not the one where you're learning from Harbaugh's tree, that makes it difficult. So that's why I think this is the final opportunity with Harbaugh, is because our guys are going to leave, and it's going to be really rough for Harbaugh to try and find replacements, and for both the coaching staff and the players. And that's why it's hard with a coach like Harbaugh to stay consistently relevant. It's the same thing with Mike Tomlin, right? Mike Tomlin does the same thing. Like, Mike Tomlin's a great coach. Harbaugh's a great coach. Like, I'm not trying to disrespect. Like, if you want to rebuild a franchise, like, get Harbaugh, right? Get Mike Tomlin. But they're not going to be able to be the ones that are able to consistently be the best team, because their guys are going to leave. Their coordinators are going to leave them, and their coordinators are the ones that are bringing new philosophies. And again, that's why you look at the dynasties in the history of the NFL, and they've all been, who was the head coach? It wasn't an offensive coordinator that changed everything. It was the head coach that brought in a new philosophy. And there's been great coaches that didn't do that, like Harbaugh and Tomlin, but they're not. I mean, we see the ups and downs, right? It's borderline playoffs or, number 1 seed. It's when they get the coordinators. Oh, yeah, look at that. It's great. But there's not that many coordinators that are great.
Yeah, man. And I think it's going to be rough. I mean, you can try to imitate or mimic, what was previously done by using guys in-house and moving them up. But like you said, man, when you have a head coach that's either offensively or defensively minded, if your coordinator leaves, that's fine. your head coach still has that philosophy. They still have that, game plan that's still built. Yes, we talk about Harbaugh, good, bad, the sad, the ugly. We talk about him. Yeah, he has his good moments, and then he has his moments where he just DTMing, doing too damn much. And it's sometimes me personally, win, lose, or draw. If we do win the Super Bowl, or we make it to the Super Bowl and lose, I think it is time for Harbaugh to leave. I'm gonna be honest. It's time. It's time for a new era. I really do feel like it's time for a new era. I feel like whether Todd Monken or Mike McDonald was get to move up to the head coach position, I do feel like Mike McDonald will get moved up before Todd Monken because Mike McDonald has history in Baltimore before Todd Monken. You're gonna get another young coach to lead these other group of younger men that is respected in this locker room. So the culture won't change as much. The philosophy won't change as much. We all saw what happened when John Harbaugh first came in here. He tried to change the culture to his way, and the veterans that were still there, they wasn't going for it. At least they wasn't going for it likely. They gave him enough respect, enough to all right, buy into what he was doing. But the veterans, Ray and Ed, and the dude that hates on Lamar, BP and company, they said, "Yo, you just coming in. Either hitch on our train, or you can go about your way." Like we saw him trying to be passive aggressive with the the hardball doghouse and stuff like that. How we didn't see guys play in next games and things of that nature. And sometimes it was beneficial, sometimes it hurt us. But I definitely feel like in this new era with Lamar Jackson under contract, I think it's time. I think it is the time for us to go in a new direction. I would like to see Harbaugh actually retire with a Super Bowl win.
I think that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah,
or step into Pete Carroll, step into management, maybe get into becoming an assistant for Eric DeCosta or something like that. Or
Ron Cyrus said the best. Ron Cyrus said the best.
Yeah, exactly. Also, if you want to see a team that fired their head coach and promoted somebody's already done it. Belichick got fired and they promoted his defensive coordinator to maintain the Belichick defensive system without going and getting a player's coach of sorts. Now, Mayo was a former player. He was a really good player for that defense, great linebacker for all those years. But that's the best way to do it if you have a system. But the Ravens don't have a system. They have Harbaugh's culture, which is great. And we need something with Lamar Jackson where we can keep his system. Because we don't want to have to. Because Lamar Jackson, this is a spoiler alert to anybody. Because somebody said it. Ron Siren said it. Lamar Jackson's going to learn a new system almost every year. Because everybody's going to want the offensive coordinator for Lamar Jackson. Because they're going to be like, dude, how did you do that? Every team's going to be drafting some sort of mobile quarterback, right? Where they go, oh, I saw what they did with Lamar Jackson. You want to be our head coach? We're drafting this guy in the first round. And then they go, yeah, I want to be a head coach. And then they leave Lamar. That is going to happen a lot unless you get the guy calling the plays and the system at the head coach position. That's the only way to keep Lamar with one system is to have it be Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Because spoiler alert, if Andy Reid was the offensive coordinator, he would have been gone. Everybody would be taking the guy calling the plays for Patrick Mahomes. Everybody would be taking the guy calling the plays for all these great quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
They did that for Brady. It didn't work, but they still took him. But Bill Belichick does all in the Patriots system. But I mean, that's like the most frustrating thing. It's like, dude, he's going to keep learning new systems if he's with Harbaugh.
No, for sure, man. I definitely feel like, as a QB, as a player, you want to stay in something that you feel familiar with and not constantly, always jumping through a hoop to, learn this and starting off slow. I think he want to continue staying on this momentum that he's been on and, keep doing what he's doing. And he's, out of all the years that he's been a starting QB for the Baltimore Ravens, this year, I don't know. Tell me if I'm crazy, McConnell. I feel like this is the year where he's most excited, where he's most comfortable, where he's having the most fun, where he where he really feels like a leader. When we look at other teams like the Joe Burrows, the Patrick Mahomes, the Jalen Hurts, we see how those offensive coordinators trust them to make the audibles, the checkdowns, and stuff like that. I feel like we finally got that this year out of Lamar. He looks so comfortable just playing his game. He looks loose in a positive way where, his improvisations look like something that was schemed up already. It's going to be exciting come Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be a really exciting game. I'm glad that it's first because then we get to watch the Chiefs game. I mean, obviously I would love for it to be primetime, but I'm glad that we just get to go. We get to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to be sitting and wait. Like, oh my God, I would never want to play Monday night playoff games. That would suck. You have to wait till Monday. Like everyone, it kind of sucks when you have the bye because you're just like, oh, who do I want to play? And you're like kind of rooting for them. But we get to watch the Ravens game. And if the Ravens win, we can say, all right, who's winning Bills versus Chiefs? Mm-hmm. And we get to lock in and be like, okay, see how they're playing, get insights and everything like that. Same thing we did this week. Like, it's nice to know that you're in and you're not watching the other game and you're like, well, maybe if we win, then we get to play it. It's like, let's get it out of the way. Let's play it, get it out of the way, and move on to next week.
Yeah.
And the Texans, they played Saturday early, so they do have a full week of rest, but now they're playing outdoors. Now they're playing Baltimore. They played their home game. They already took down Joe. Which is kind of good. I was rooting for the Texans in that game. But now it's a different animal.
How did you feel about Ravens fans rooting for Joe Flacco?
I get it. Joe Flacco's an absolute legend. I always root for Joe, but I didn't want to play Cleveland. So I was not rooting for Joe. I was like if people felt like Cleveland was a good matchup, root for Joe. But I was like let's say if the Browns were, I don't know, if it was a situation where the Browns wouldn't have played the Ravens, right? Like if the Browns had won, they would be playing the Dolphins or the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I probably would have been rooting for the Browns over the Texans. Actually, no, I love CJ Stroud. I probably still would have rooted for the Texans, but I would get it because it would be like, okay, like for me, example, I think the best comparison is like NBA terms. Like I'm an OKC fan. I love KD and I love Russell Westbrook. Yeah. I root for them every situation that I can.
Yeah.
Unless they're playing OKC. But if I'm in a situation where like the Suns are playing a team and I love KD, but like the winner of that series plays OKC, dude, I don't want to play KD. KD's nasty. Yeah. Like he's good. Yeah. Like I'm rooting for the Timberwolves or whoever else it is. Yeah. I'm rooting for the Nuggets. Yeah. I don't want to play them because like they're that good. I think the Browns defense matches up really well against the Ravens, so I rooted against them. But I get why people root for Joe. A lot of people, especially on Twitter, like Joe was the guy. Like they didn't watch pre-Joe Flacco. They didn't get any of that Steve McNair action, the Vinny Testaverde action.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I love OG January Joe Cool, the real Joe Cool for sure. But with him being in the Browns uniform, and then the comments about the atmosphere is different, the fans are better here in Cleveland. So yeah, you're hot at this point. Where I'm from, you feel me? I don't care. We don't care how much you used to rock with us. If you talking all that talk now, you were hot. So I definitely didn't win. I definitely didn't want Joe to win. I wanted the Texans to win. and I definitely, I'm not gonna lie. In the back of my mind, I did feel like I thought some of that magic was going to show against the Texans, but I mean, the Texans just came out and played. They came out and played, and they dominated through every facet, honestly. So shout out to
Yeah.
them. But yeah, when people was like, they want to see Joe win, I'm like, okay, that's cool during the regular season, but when it comes to supposedly matching up with us, we don't want that. Not
Yeah.
because he's so great and nothing and things of that nature. No, like you said, we don't want to play an AFC North rival 3 times as a team that knows us. So who knows how that can come, how the outcome could be.
Yep. I think it comes down to matchups, and it's everyone always has a different philosophy in who you want to play.
Yeah.
I'll ask this kind of briefly because I don't want to talk about it on Saturday, but Bills Chiefs, who would you rather play?
I want the Chiefs.
You want the Chiefs?
I want the Chiefs. I feel like that's a real competition. They count. Let's be real about it. ESPN, every media outlet is waiting on the Ravens' downfall.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a team that that's had our number since Lamar's been the starting QB. I don't think Lamar has beaten Pat Mahomes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Since he's been a starting QB,
he did beat him.
Okay.
On that Sunday night game. Where
That's when. Okay.
He's like 1-3.
But I feel like this will be a more sweeter victory. The great Pat Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson up and coming. The storyline is so much better in my opinion. Okay, thanks, Howard.
Yeah, I kind of want to play the Chiefs, just because I think they are the top dog. I also think the Bills are better than the Chiefs. The Bills are really hot right now, and even though the Chiefs are the Chiefs, playing against them, we've never seen Lamar Mahomes in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I want to see that. I want to see how Lamar does in that situation, and I feel like the Chiefs, we match up well against them now because we do have a pass rush. That was the reason why we couldn't win because shout out to Wink Martindale again. But Wink Martindale's strategy against Mahomes was just send the house every play. Mahomes would go, oh, we have one-on-one with Tyreek Hill every play. Let me just drop back, throw, drop back, throw. And it was like, dude, what are we doing, Wink Martindale? Like, stop putting Marcus Peters one-on-one with Tyreek Hill and then Marlon on Mecole Hardman. And then it's like, oh, who's in the slot against Sammy Watkins? Anthony Averett. Great. We got that locked up. Demarcus Robinson, he's about to cook us.
Yeah.
So that was always frustrating. But now it's like, okay, we have a pass rush. We have good linebackers. We'd have Kyle Hamilton probably matching up with Travis Kelce.
Honestly, they would have you would have to literally beat us. Pat and Kelce, that Pat and Kelce connection would have to beat us. I'm not gonna say Isaiah Pacheco doesn't run the ball, but I don't feel like he get over 100 over us. And I feel like if we take Rashid Rice out the game, who else you got? Maybe Gray. But outside of that, we match up pretty well. And Chris Jones don't have a motor like Aaron Donald. Let's be real about it. They got maybe 1 or 2 good corners. Shout out to Joshua Williams. I know there was one guy that that you and I both wanted the Ravens to get. Shout out to Mr. Sneed over there. The way he sent Tyreek Hill to Cancun packing. But
they got McDuffie as well. That was someone we wanted if
for sure. But I just feel like I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk. But we match up. That's another team we match up well against, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about the matchups. Bills are tough because the Bills are an outside passing game and running with the quarterback. And we haven't seen the Ravens play against many teams that run with the quarterback. So how would we match up against that? I don't really know. And then obviously Stephon Diggs. He's a nightmare on the outside. I think Stephon Diggs probably gets the best of Marlon. At this point in Marlon's career, and he hasn't been super healthy. And it's just like, okay, they may be able to get some big plays. And then their defense, both defenses are really good.
Yeah.
I think the Bills are probably hotter right now, which is I'd rather play against the less hot defense. I don't know.
Yeah, the Bills cause more
Bills are on a
turnovers right now,
streak,
for sure.
but at the same time, I don't like Patrick Mahomes. I want the Bills to win. Like I'd rather have the Ravens play the Chiefs, but like I'm rooting for the Bills. Like screw Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Steven, are you scared against the defense against the run? Certain running schemes, but neither the Shanahan scheme is going to be. Oh, thank you so much, Steven. We really do appreciate that.
No, for sure.
I'm scared against our defense against the run. I also feel like our secondary is hit and miss. Do you feel nervous about resting 3 weeks after seeing the Texans play? Defense against the run. I think speed backs is more worrisome for me. I think when they have the more power running backs like a Pacheco, I'm not as worried, like a Devin Singletary. When you go up against a team, and I know McCaffrey isn't a speed back, but that system utilizes usually speed backs like a Kyron Williams. He was probably the best running back against the Ravens this year, was that Rams game. So that's the system I'm worried about, is playing it. And even the Dolphins, same thing, same system. They had speed. Their guys got free. Yes, we haven't been great against the run, but when teams have a physical running back like a Singletary or Pacheco, I feel pretty confident in
we beat them down.
And Patrick Queen and our D tackles to be able to wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's when you got the speed backs, it's more of the zone running schemes.
Yeah.
So when you got those, the David Achans and those type of guys, even Christian McCaffrey, he knows how to hit the holes. He's a zone running back. He's a zone running back, and we see, when he does hit the hole, you see daylight, he goes crazy. He may not be as fast as he used to be, but he can still cut on a dime, and make the guys miss. So I don't think it's more so, like McConnell said, being scared of the run is being scared of the scheme, because it's levels to it. When you see those offensive linemen moving and they turning their hips and opening up so the running back can go off their backside, it can get scary, because when they go up that next level, you don't see nobody there and they just keep on climbing. Yeah, it can get a little nervous, but I don't think the Ravens have a way of flowing to the ball. They have a way of getting into the gaps and getting into the lane. So I definitely don't feel like that's something that I'm scared about. But I feel like the real big
secondary hit and miss.
It all depends on the wide receiver core. I really feel like it really all depends on the wide receiver core of the team that we're playing. This wide receiver core, it doesn't have takedown. Like you said, Noah Brown, I don't think he will be available. I'm not saying that that they don't have other guys available. I mean, Nico Collins, the tight end is pretty damn good, but we've held our own against some fair and decent wide receiving cores. So I don't feel like it's going to be a hit or miss. Will we give up a play here and there? Yes, we will. That happens. That's the game. This is the second season, the playoffs. Anything can happen. So would that be a big play here and there? Sure. Would there be a miscommunication here and there? For sure, that happens. But I feel like we're gonna hit more than miss.
Yeah, and I think it also comes down to health, right? Like Marlon's missed a couple of games.
Yeah.
His first game back was that game against the Rams. I thought he played pretty well. He did get beat on one deep ball to Cooper Kupp, where Kupp kind of jumped up and caught it. It was still like he played the ball decently enough.
Yeah,
Kupp just made a great catch, but I think that comes down to health, right? Like Brandon Stevens has kind of been in and out. Marlon's been in and out. Slot receiver's been a question mark. We've had Millette, Roby. We've had, Pepe Williams has been essentially out all year. Jalen Armour Davis has been in and out of the lineup. Rocky Sin has been in and out of the lineup. So that slot corner spot, Kyle Hamilton also has been kind of in and out, but he's been able to fill in at that spot. when the Ravens have been healthy, I don't think it's very hit and miss. I think it's very good. And like secondary isn't going to play perfect every play. Like Joshua said, like they're still going to miss. Like guys are going to be open this game. This isn't, the University of Alabama against, Southern Utah State Episcopal University, right? Like
Yeah,
it's not like we're that outmatched. These are all NFL players. They can get open.
yeah,
It's just about how consistently can they get open, how much space do they have when they get open, and how much time does the quarterback have to throw. Because when you're not getting pressure, like every wide receiver is getting open. Like I could get open against Jalen Ramsey if I had 45 seconds. I would have a split second at some point where I am open, right? Like, could I cook Jalen Ramsey? No. But he might make one wrong step at some point.
yeah.
Like, that's why you have a pass rush. That's what makes pass rush dangerous, is because all of a sudden your quarterback has 3 seconds and they got to get it out quick. And if you can be tight for 5 seconds, that's great coverage. And then finally, we've been resting our guys for 3 weeks, Joshua. Are you nervous about that now that you've seen how hot the Texans have gotten?
Hell no. Hell no. If anything, like I said, yeah, I got PTSD 2019, but check this out. This team ain't outside like that 2019 team used to be. This team is locked in. This team is focused. Like you have a more mature group. You have a more poised group. You have a team that has been working out the kinks, that has been practicing. No, it has not been no physical contact, but they still been doing, certain things, resting up the body. This second season is one and done. Now or never. Take the time that you need to rest your body, get to at least 95%, at least 99.9% if you can. So when it's time to suit up, you're ready to go. Will it be a little slug? Maybe in the first quarter. But I promise you, after that first possession on both offensive and defensive side of the ball, when they figure out and see what the Texans are doing, they're gonna get it together. Just like they, even though it was a slugfest against LA in that rainy game, they got it together and pulled out the win. So y'all, Ravens fans, have your Alka-Seltzer Plus, have your Tylenol, Advil, whatever the case may be. Y'all know how the Ravens play football, y'all, and it ain't gonna be no easy one. Are we rooting for our team to get the W? For sure, but we also know how our team is as well. So I feel like this rest period has been more beneficial to our offensive linemen, the guys that's been recovering from injuries, and we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right.
Yeah, and the guys that we rested were banged up. I think outside of Lamar, like Zay was a little bit banged up. Odell was a little bit banged up. Rowe, I don't think Rowe was banged up, but like giving guys rest at the end of the season, now that it's a 17-game season, that's huge. And also look at what happened in the game. TJ Watt had an MCL sprain or whatever and missed the playoff game. Could you imagine if we play Roquan, Lamar, and in a heated rivalry game where the Steelers have to win, someone twists an ankle, ruptures a tendon, hurts their knee? It'd be devastating. And we'd be out there like we were in the preseason against the Washington Commanders, and we're going, Harbaugh, why are you playing J.K. Dobbins right now? Harbaugh, why is Lamar in the game? Like, when you don't need to play in the NFL, you should not have to play. Like, the Ravens locked up the 1 seed. Lamar Jackson probably locked up the MVP. And it was more important that we went out there and just got our guys healthy, because we didn't want, like Zay, I think he had a hurt foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want him to play at 85% and then hurt it worse, and then he can't play the next game. Let him get right. Let him get better. And then also, like, give experience to the backups. Like, Tavius Robinson was getting a lot of snaps, and I think that's totally fine. Like, that's a good time to utilize backups and see what you really have. And shout out, because I think that was a huge game for one of our young guys, Trenton Simpson. I think that was a massive game to see. Like, are we screwed if we don't have Patrick Queen? Let's see what he has. and he went out there and he balled out. And I think that's going to work wonders for this offseason. Maybe the Ravens don't decide, like maybe the Ravens let go of Patrick Queen, and then we don't go, we need a linebacker first round. I'm fine with running Trent, like maybe we're drafting like another third round linebacker or whatever. But I think that's one of the other biggest things that I saw was like, hey, it's essentially a pre-postseason practice session.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get anybody hurt. Let the offensive linemen get better. Let the quarterbacks and receivers get better. And see what we got in some of our guys. Like Tavius Robinson, I think, played very well as Trenton Simpson. So shout out to those guys. And Brandon Stevens balled out against George Pickens. Zero targets, 0 receptions.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Joshua, is there anything else you want to talk about? Obviously, we'll still do a pregame show on Saturday, but is there anything else you want to talk about today?
No, man, if y'all in the area, Maryland area, DMV area, make sure y'all staying safe, staying warm. Winter is going out with a blast. I don't know how the weather is out your way, McConnell, but now we finally starting to get snow. I know the kids was out today. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, everybody enjoy your week. Get ready for football on Saturday. If you're going to the game, enjoy it. Be loud. Also be respectful, but it should be a lot of fun. And Raven Runs is 22 degrees in Seattle. It's been about 18 here in Portland. So sounds about right. I think we're supposed to have an ice storm today. So that's going to be fun.
Damn.
Having a good time out here. It was really fun I was also sick when the power went out. I had a fever and it dropped to like 25 degrees in my house. And I was like, I don't know if I'm like freezing because of the fever or I'm just getting hypothermia. I don't know what it is, but I'm staying in bed. I got all my blood. I was wrapped up for over a day. I was literally just in bed unless I went to the bathroom. And if I went to the bathroom, I was like, oh my God, it's so cold right now. But we're all good now. No longer sick. Also have power. Back to making videos. Thank you all so much for coming through. Subscribe for more content. We'll see all of you again next time.